Want to hear something insane? At 24, I was broke. By 27, I became a millionaire. And at 45, I make over $100 million a year. No trust fund, no handouts. I just had to learn a few brutal truths that nobody teaches. And to be honest, they gave me an unfair advantage in business. So I'm going to be sharing these brutal truths to you, one by one. Now let's start with the one that changed everything for me. Number one, sell before you build. The idea of finding a customer, selling the thing before you ever build it is the unfair advantage. When I launched my company Flowtown, we literally made a fake wireframe of like the whole product. I wanted to see if people would actually buy before I built anything. So we just faked it. We called it Wizard of Ozing. We didn't build any software because that is the hardest part, is validating if your business idea is wanted by anybody. So the first step to gaining an unfair advantage is getting money before you waste time building something nobody wants. But how do you get people to give you their money? Number two, make an irresistible offer. To get anybody to part with their money, you need to make an offer they can't say no to. So how do you create an offer that's impossible to resist? There's a couple boxes your offer needs to tick. Number one, outcome. Is it a clear and valuable transformation? Number two, speed to result. Can you get them that outcome fast? To the degree you can communicate the speed to the result, the thing they bought and the result in their life, as fast as you can communicate that they'll get that, that makes the offer irresistible. Number three, risk reversal. Can you remove their fear of saying yes? Ask yourself, what is it about what I'm selling that would get them concerned about buying? Is it that you look too young? You don't have other customers? What if it doesn't work for them? Make the risk reversal. What's the guarantee? What's the structure? How do you make the offer so brain dead simple that they would feel dumb for saying no? Number four is scarcity or urgency. See, if you don't give somebody motivation or a reason to buy now, they just won't. So you might have limited inventory based on your capacity. Use that. You might have some kind of deal you're offering this quarter. Use that. Figure out what can you say to create scarcity or urgency in the offer today. Number five is the unique mechanism. This is probably the most important thing in the whole offer. What is your unique mechanism that's going to get the person the result they hadn't heard from anybody before? If you're helping somebody lose weight and your offer is eat less calories, that's like, duh, I've heard that before. But if you talk about the macros and the type of macros for your body and your lifestyle, then that sounds like a unique mechanism that they're like, hey, I've never heard that before. What are my macros? So let's break it down so you can see how we checked all those boxes. Book 15 qualified buyer appointments. That's your clear and valuable outcome. In 30 days, that's your speed to results. Or get your money back. That's the risk reversal. Offer ends in 3 days. That's how we create urgency. Using our AI appointment setter system. That's the unique mechanism. And now that we've made sure we checked off all the boxes, that's how we make an irresistible offer. And if you want the offer template that's made me over 50 million in sales, click the first link in the description and you'll get it for free. But now that you've collected all this money, what do you do with the money to give you an unfair advantage? Number three, spend the money to save time. Don't spend the time to save money. The top 1% entrepreneurs in the world spend their money to save time to go invest that time to get more leverage. Most people that struggle in business spend a lot of time to save pennies, to save dollars, when what they really need to do is do the thing that only they can do that's gonna make them the most money. Then use that money to buy back your time, to go do more of that. The key idea is understand how valuable time is. I remember hearing this metaphor once where somebody convinced me that I was trading gold bars for pennies because I didn't understand what my time was worth. So I want you to think to yourself, where are you making that trade? Where are you trading gold bars for pennies instead of pennies for gold bars? Because if you're doing the right thing with your time, you'd be making a lot more gold bars. Is it maybe that you're cooking all your own meals and you're not using meal prep, or you're spending all your time cleaning your apartment? I don't know what it is for you, but there's an opportunity for you to get more time. Maybe it's restocking stuff or even doing your own mail. If you want an unfair advantage, here's the way we need to think through this. First off, you have to calculate your hourly rate. How much money do you make per hour? If you make $100,000 a year, then you're making $50 an hour. Once you know that, you have to outsource anything that you could pay anybody else a quarter of that amount. So if it's $50 an hour, $12.50 to save an hour is a great trade. And then finally, you're gonna take that trade, reinvest the newfound time into things that create higher leverage outputs for you, things that only you can do. So here's my challenge for you. Tonight, I want you to sit down and list 3 of these tasks that you'll start paying someone else next week to start doing for you. Every chore you delete buys you revenue making time. But having all that time to make money only feels like an unfair advantage if you sell to the right customer. Number 4, solve problems for rich people. I can't tell you how painful it is to try to sell something to somebody who doesn't value it. It's funny, if I'm selling something for $15, I will get 100 questions. If I sell something for $150,000, I get no question. When you solve rich people problems, they're just ready to buy. I failed my first 2 companies because I was selling to small businesses. Then my 3rd company, I decided to sell to Fortune 2000 companies, and I made millions of dollars. Why? Those big companies had an unlimited budget to solve their biggest problems. They just needed somebody to come along and be like, hey, you know that thing that creates a lot of pain in your life? I can solve it for a fraction of the cost that it's costing you right now. And they're like, oh my gosh, when can you get this solved? Sales happen overnight. That was my software company, Spheric. It was the most important lesson I learned at a very young age. I was 24 when I started that company. I did almost $1 million in my first year after struggling and failing for 7 years because I didn't understand this concept. I just found a customer that had more money. So let's break it down into very actionable steps. Before you do anything else, let's find a buyer who spends without thinking twice. Like, I want you to imagine the person that if they heard what you had would just be like, oh, of course, I'm buying that. Like, I need it. The person that has like unlimited funds and just buys the thing. Then package the results, not your hours. See, the challenge with most businesses is they sell the time. I want you to sell the results. I want you to sell the transformation. Sell the value they're going to get, not how much time you spend doing it. And finally, price it in a way that the buyer feels like it stings a little. But trust me, they'll respect you more. You have to let people understand they're buying your process for delivering what you do, not your presence. And the coolest part, rich clients pay fast. They churn slow. They'll stick with you for a long time. And if you knock it out of the park, they will brag about you to everyone. Okay, now that you've got customers, you need to keep their options simple. Number 5, simplicity scales, complexity fails. I've been in business for 28 years. The number one thing that stops people from growing, from having an unfair advantage in business and in life, is they overcomplicate things. They create so many different products. They have a little bit of momentum, a little bit of traction, a little bit of money, and they add a bunch of complexity. If your menu reads like these restaurants that do like Italian, American, and Chinese all in the same restaurant, you're cooked. I remember one time I had a client, she literally had 42 pricing tiers. I'm talking like 42 things she sold. Growth flatline. She couldn't figure out, like, what am I doing wrong? Do I need a new marketing funnel? Nope. We just cut everything to 3 and she tripled her revenue in the next 90 days. It's obvious once you hear it, but it takes courage to make that decision. So here's my philosophy that'll allow you to lock this learning in and keep it simple every time. It's called the scaling credo. Number 1, we want to pick one target market. Remember that customer I said that would buy easily from you? That's the target market. Then we want to pick one product, one thing you sell to that person that's a no-brainer, an irresistible offer. The third is we want to pick one conversion tool, one process for selling. If it's over chat, cool. If it's a phone call, cool. If it's a proposal, cool. Don't try to sell using different tools. Number 4 is you want to pick one channel. One channel for getting customers. One channel for generating audience. If it's social media, pick one. Is it TikTok? Is it Instagram? Pick one. One channel. Do all 4 of those for 1 year. That's the 5th. That's the scaling credo. Now you're probably still trying to figure out the business. It's kind of like reinventing the wheel. Let's fix that to give you an unfair advantage over every other business out there. Number 6, model, then modify. One of my coaches, when I started working with him, said this to me like 15 years ago. He said, here's the deal. I'm not saying the way I teach you is how you have to do it forever, but for you to get results, you have to copy what I teach. You have to model what I'm teaching. Once it works for you, then you can modify it. If you think that your situation is like some magical, unique fingerprint or like a snowflake and nobody's ever done business the way you do it, you're gonna be in trouble. See, instead of solving every problem from scratch, the fastest way to grow is to find people who've already solved it. I call it buying blueprints. I wanna find anybody who's built the business that I'm about to build. I can pay them to learn that. That's fast. That's an unfair advantage. If you want to put this into action and use my model offer template, just click the first link in the description below and I'll send it over to you for free. So now that you got a plan, you need to learn how to attack it to get a true unfair advantage. Number 7, Be patient with results, but impatient with action. When I think about it, it's kind of like when I started my YouTube channel. Like I started 10 years ago. I know you see my numbers today and you're like, oh my God, Dan, you're crushing it. Nope. 10 years. 10 years ago, I woke up and made a commitment. I will post every week for 10 years. I will give myself patience in my results for a decade. I went 8 years to get to 100,000 followers. And then I decided to actually iterate and stay consistent. And within the next year, I got to 1 million followers. That is the difference between impatient with action, but patient with results. So here's how I like to think about it. First off, we need to define the clear goal. A goal is something that is smart, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. Most people are not clear about what they want to achieve. Then we got to identify the actions needed to hit that goal. I think of them like daily standards. What are the actions that if I did every day, it would make the achievement of the goal just like unreasonable not to assume I would hit it? If it's the number of sales calls I got to make, if it's what I eat, if it's how often I work out, like whatever the goal is, what's the daily action, the standard that I'm willing to hold? Once you do that, take consistent action for 1,000 days and iterate constantly with feedback. I truly believe every person is 1,000 days away from living their dream life. This will give you an unfair advantage because consistency compounds. See, most people can't stick to a week, let alone 1,000 days. You know how different you are if you can do it for 1,000 days? You're like the most unique person in your city. Most people don't do shit for that long. That's crazy. So here's the deal. That was a lot to execute. But what mindset should you adopt to win? You don't win because you're smarter. You win because you move faster, you charge more, and you keep going when it's boring. When everybody else would just give up, that will create an unfair advantage that allow you to live a life that very few people can ever imagine. Now, if you want to learn how to build a business that runs itself, click here and I'll see you on the other side.